Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Book Reviews, and I just got done watching Loqueesha on Amazon Prime, Amazon Instant, whatever you want to call it now. I'm not too sure. Amazon. The movie is on Amazon, and if you have Prime, you can watch it. And you know what? Here's the deal. You should watch it for a number of reasons. Number one being there are a lot of people out there that are going to tell you you shouldn't watch this movie based upon the concept, based upon the left-wing reaction to the trailer. And I'm going to tell you should watch it because those people clearly didn't. And I think are coming at this film with like literally the worst of intentions, when if you watch it, you can outright see that is not the case whatsoever. I saw the trailer for this movie and I thought to myself, this is going to be interesting. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but it's definitely going to be interesting. It's Mrs. Doubtfire meets Tootsie with a completely different take, and one that can, in this current culture, cause a lot of division and controversy. Even though the movie itself, I do believe, is actually crafted in a way that would do more to cater or conjure up a conversation versus call for outright condemnation. Now, the story of the film is all about Joe, your average, every Joe, right? Your everyman who works as a barkeep in a rundown bar called Barney's in Detroit, where he dispenses folksy wisdom to all of the patrons, people who know just the right thing to say, or he knows just the right thing to say at the right time to these people, and ultimately can give the wisdom that he wants. And then when he needs to make money in order to send his son to a private school, at the absolute bashing of his ex-wife, who is a gigantic bitch. Like, they don't even give any redeeming character qualities to his ex-wife. She is literally a bad person, and she literally puts everything on his shoulders. Like, it does go to, there's a subtle line there, a subtle bit in this movie, clearly about divorce court, clearly about the expectation of the father to provide for the child when the mother makes no claim to even meet him remotely halfway. She's like, you need to raise $13,000 a semester so we can go to this gifted school, all the while not even at any point in time saying that she's going to raise any of that money or try to kick in at any point in time, putting him in nearly an impossible situation because he wants a good relationship with this kid. And she's basically telling him like, well, you're a deadbeat, so this is what you're going to be to your son if you don't do this. And it kind of sets him down this pathway. So the circumstances are really a shitty ex-wife. Kind of do it. And so as a result, he meets this woman, Rachel, who is having a bad situation with her boyfriend, and he guides her. She comes back and she says, hey, why don't you sign up for this? Why don't you get a job at this radio station? They need a talk show host. So he applies and they turn him down because, well, they are looking for women and minorities. So in an act of almost pure curiosity mixed with somewhat desperation, Joe creates the character of Loqueesha, who is this very folksy, very in your face, spitting the truth, spitting that fire personality. Think Tyler Perry's Medea, but white and not Tyler Perry, and arguably far more entertaining than Medea. I actually found this to be far more entertaining than Medea in many different ways. So anyway, I think it's because it wasn't, while the humor was played up for laughs, there was also a sweetness behind it, whereas Medea kind of feels over the top for effect. There was actually a message here, a poignant message here, and quite often many of the scenes involving Loqueesha. Anyway, she gets the job, hides her identity, hires an engineer, sworn to secrecy, and they become a hit. And then, of course, from there, everything starts to unravel. When they meet Renee, well, they hire Renee because Renee is meant to be the real life Loqueesha, go to all the public appearances, and she's paid all of those appearance fees as well as an hourly rate to be in the studio when they're doing the show. It's a good grift. It's a great grift. Everyone's happy. The kids going to school. They're growing in popularity, but now all of a sudden they're going to get syndication, especially following the events of Loqueesha talking down a woman from committing suicide. And then from there, it all goes nuts because Oprah's network comes in and says, we want you to be on our network. He turns it down. Renee gets pissed off, starts to blackmail him, and Joe basically just quits, leaving Renee to absolutely destroy the Loqueesha brand. And quite frankly, like as stellar of a way as the Beatles almost did when John Lennon said that they're more popular than God. It was actually a great little meltdown. And then in which case Renee goes, oh, crap balls, I've messed this up. I've screwed up my own gravy train. How do I fix this? But then by then Joe's like, no, I'm tired. I don't want to lie anymore. I want to be honest. And he's honest. And then he puts it out there and he waits for the members of the society, the fans to decide what they want. And ultimately, it ends up splitting between two. He does a 3-hour drive time show. 1.5 hours is Joe. 1.5 hours is Loqueesha. At least that is the vibe that I got. They didn't fully spell it out for you in the end, but that's really about it. So the movie itself is 100% an independent movie. It was absolutely a low budget affair. You can tell this by watching it, but it wasn't bad. It legitimately wasn't bad. I sat down this morning and I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. And what sold the movie for me was there's this scene towards the end when Joe's realizing that he's just in this place where like he has lied to people. That's not what he wants to be. He's tempted to quit it all. He's tempted to leave it all behind. And he doesn't know because he wants to look after his son because his wife is such a bitch that she just absolutely like every scene just rails on him for being like, the sole financial person in this situation. I thought I was wrong. And then Joe, to his discredit, never once fought back, never once used his own logic on himself in order to basically curtail the ex-wife into making it a parent, a partnership to raise their son. But he's having a conversation with this kid over lunch about how the son's going to this new school and the son wants to make friends. And so the son told this other boy that he liked his tuna fish sandwich. And then the boy became friends with them under a lie that he likes tuna fish because a kid hates tuna fish. But then that boy brings the tuna fish sandwich and kind of like goads the son into eating it, and the son gets sick, throws it up, which then proves he doesn't like tuna fish, which then proves that he lied to this kid, and then this kid's no longer his friend. And with the whole conversation boils down to them saying, like, don't lie about who you are in order to please other people. You're going to make yourself sick. And at that moment, my daughter, who is 1.5 years old, was asleep on my lap as I'm watching this, and I'm holding her hand, and I'm thinking of her, like us having this conversation. And I think to this YouTube game, and this YouTube game is a lot like that. A lot of people say things that they aren't who they are, especially in the political sphere. They will play up a character, they'll play something up for effect, but it's not who they truly are. I've definitely overhyped things before for the sake of entertainment when I realize that that's not who I want to be as a person. So it's a very difficult thing, and I've gotten myself so stressed out, and I've gotten myself in these situations where I just screwed up, and it's not me being happy, not me being truthful to me. And Joe, and I saw myself in that scene quite a bit. It very much resonated with me. It's one of the reasons why I like the movie. And so as a result of that, Joe chooses to, set it all down and walk away instead of taking the blackmail deal that Renee was doing to him. And then from there, they get to the end of the film. What I enjoyed was Joe's progression. What I enjoyed was Jeremy Saville, whatever. Saville, not Saville, not the British dude. But him trying to find who he is and please everybody, and at the same time kind of discover what, how he is as a person. And then the relationship with Rachel was nice, especially like their whole little interactions here and there. As they didn't really have a lot to do in the budding relationship, but there was a scene where she talks to Loqueesha, and Loqueesha gives her the advice to basically, to be truthful with Joe about how she feels, and Joe knows that it's Rachel. And so when Rachel tries to throw herself at him, he starts to embody Loqueesha because he can't do it. And I thought that was great. I'm watching that scene and I'm like, dude, come on, like, don't. Like, I really hope you don't sleep with her. Like, that would completely destroy your character. And he didn't. And then, of course, at that point, he starts really dealing with, like, the aftermath of running this dual narrative in his head, and lying about who he is and everything else. And it's, again, there's a lot of soulfulness in this movie. There's a lot of sweetness in this movie. The way that it's written is not meant to be offensive, although I can see how it would be taken as being offensive, because the trailer is meant to be this kind of, like, funny. It's a funny trailer. They tried to make it funny, but it can come across as insensitive. There's a bit in the beginning of the movie where when he first meets Rachel, where he's talking about Gandhi, and he does this little back and forth between Gandhi and Gandhi's wife, and he uses the Indian accent, and it wasn't terrible, but at the same time you're like, that's probably gonna rub some people the wrong way. Then he kept everything else very much to a minimum and whatnot. But I was surprised at how much swearing there was in the movie. I thought it was like going to be a PG-13 type thing. Tons of swearing in there, tons of sexual jokes in there. Clearly not for young audiences that can understand what's being said, And it's like there's like throwaway lines that make no sense. Like they're auditioning people to play the real life Loqueesha, and this woman comes in and her only line is, "So if I blow both of you, will I get the part?" And then like the engineer's like, And I'm like, okay, like, I mean, there were bits that were thrown in there for humor that I don't really feel hit the mark, to be honest with you. And they actually kind of took away from a bit of the sweetness of the film. I feel bad that they were pushing for an I think an end of June or end of July release of this movie. The backlash online 2 weeks ago when the trailer first dropped, especially from people like Patton Oswalt and other people inside of Hollywood that were absolutely bashing on the movie without seeing it, definitely 100% forced their hand into not only pulling the trailer, which they did. They pulled the trailer from YouTube. You can only find it on Vimeo now because it was getting so many dislikes, and so much negativity that they just pulled it, and that they unceremoniously put it on Amazon Prime. And I don't feel that was I get why they did it. I understand why they did it. I also look at the whole situation and think they were bullied into doing it, and that's not right. The movie's not as bad as people out there are trying to make it out to be. They clearly tried to tell a message here without being offensive, and I think they succeeded, although there are going to be people who aren't going to like it. But I would honestly recommend people to give it a watch, who are unsure what to think of it, and then decide for themselves when you start getting into the characters and getting into the situations. And we've seen this type of story before, but this one, dealing with the racial relations as it is definitely going to be a bit tougher of a sell. But I do think they did try with the most honorable intentions. Whether or not they reached those is entirely up to the viewer. There were some times that they came dangerously close to some stuff that probably wouldn't be considered very good. And then there were times where it was very sweet and very poignant and very, very thoughtful and thought-provoking, actually. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. But I really would recommend you guys check it out to formulate your own opinion. And then again, come back once you're done. Let me know what you think of it. Anyway, my name is Matt Jarbo. This has been $3 Reviews. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.